The goal of this video is to help you work with Laravel routing. Even if you have no prior Laravel experience, with just a bit of PHP knowledge, you are ready to get started. So where do we begin? Looking at a fresh Laravel installation, there are so many folders and files, and we don't even know where to start from. Well, from the previous video, we already know where this result, this view here is coming from, right? So let's start with that one. So open the welcome.blade.php file, which is under resources views. And yeah, so whatever we have here is actually displayed here in the browser. Now the question is, how is this view being served in the browser? Who or what is serving it? Something must be routing it to the browser, right? So let's go back to PHP Store. And if you take a look, we do have this routes folder here. So if we open that, we have two files, console.php and web.php. And of course, we are building a web app. So most probably this must be the place. And yeah, here it is. We do have a route that listens to a GET request, and this is the URI. So this, you can call it a homepage, or an index, root, whatever you want to call it. So when we visit this URI, then what we do is to run this piece of code. And what this code does, simply return a view called welcome. All of this makes sense, but there is one thing that might seem confusing at first. This welcome string here. This corresponds to the welcome.blade.php file, which we can find it inside the resources views. So this is where it corresponds to. So Laravel has a convenient naming convention where you don't need to specify welcome.blade.php here. It just knows that you're referring to this welcome.blade.php file. If you actually try to use the full name like we have here, and you go back to the browser, you will see that now it fails. View welcome.blade.php not found. Why? Because Laravel interprets this as looking for a file called php.blade.php inside a welcome blade directory. It's confusing at first, so let's just stick with welcome. Okay, so what if we experiment with this a bit? Let's see what else routes can do for us. I will duplicate this route, but instead of listening to the root page, let's listen to a new one called numbers. And instead of returning a view, we can just return a random integer from 0 to 100. Okay, so if I go back to the browser and we visit /numbers, which is, of course, the path we have specified here, the URI, and we press enter, with each refresh, you get our new random number, 65, 98, 83, 85, and so on. Okay, so what else can we do? We can also return JSON if you want. So let's, again, duplicate this and call this new URI JSON. So when we hit the JSON URI in the browser, we want to return some JSON response. So let's say message, hello world, and let's say status success. All right, so if I go back to the browser and we visit JSON, yeah, you can see that we return an array, but Laravel converts the array to a JSON response. Pretty cool. All right, so what about redirects? Let's say our pricing page has moved, and for SEO reasons, we want to redirect to a new URL structure while preserving our search rankings. For this, we can make use of the redirect helpers. So we can say route redirect. So yeah, the previous URI was, let's say, packages, but now we are moving to a new one called pricing. Okay. Again, we want to keep the SEO we have worked so hard for the last 10 years, let's say. So of course, we don't want to lose any kind of SEO. That's why we use a redirect instead. So if I go to the browser now and we hit the packages, you will see that it automatically redirects us to the pricing page. Of course, this returns an 404 not found because there is no pricing route. So let's create one. Okay, so get the URI is pricing. And for this one, we want to return a view. So return view pricing. I'm not sure why I'm trying to disable Copilot, but it keeps popping up. Anyways, so now we have to, of course, create this new view pricing. And to be honest, I think that creating the view inside here. So let's do that first. So pricing.blade.php. So yeah, creating the view here, this is going to get very, very messy very, very quickly. So what I'm going to do instead is to create a subfolder called marketing and move the pricing.blade.php file inside the marketing directory. And yeah, so here let's return an h1 and say pricing. So if I try to reload this, it does work because the route pricing does exist now, but it fails because it says that the view pricing is not found. And yeah, it doesn't, that's correct because we're trying to return a view from pricing. Or maybe let's say we're trying to return a view called pricing, not from, and the pricing should exist inside the root. So if I move this to the root here inside views and refresh, you can see that it actually works. But we want pricing.blade.php file inside marketing. So to be able to make that possible, remember we have to use dots for that. So marketing dot pricing. And yeah, now it doesn't fail anymore. So it just works because we specify the folder here, which is marketing, and then this is the view, which is pricing.blade.php. But of course, we just specify the name of the view and it just works. So now you understand why we got that error earlier when we tried the welcome.blade.php. So Laravel would interpret this, as I said, as looking for a file called php.blade.php inside welcome/blade directory. So that's why it doesn't work, and that's why this one works, because this is the directory, marketing, the folder, and then this is the view. So as a rule of thumb, do not specify the full name, just use the base name and use dots to represent directory separators. Let me show you a Laravel tip before wrapping up this tutorial. For routes like welcome and pricing, all we're doing is returning a view, nothing else. So Laravel provides a cleaner way to handle this with route view, and this expects the URI and the view name. So I'm going to remove this, delete that code, and then just say marketing.pricing. If we go back to the browser, again, it just works, no difference, because what we had earlier is very similar to what we have now. So this is a helper function, a helper static method that says, listen for the pricing URI, and simply return a view inside marketing called pricing. If you enjoyed this video and want more, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm also working on a Laravel boilerplate built with domain-driven design, which I already use for my SaaS, gaplos.com. It comes packed with tons of features and, of course, full DDD support. So stay tuned and thanks for watching.